Right, Tony Horseman, thank you very much for agreeing to come down and do this interview with us. It's a pleasure to meet you. Okay, I'd like to start, if it's okay with you, by going right back to when you were a kid. When you were a young lad growing up in High Wycombe, did you ever go and watch Wycombe Wanderers and visit Lokes Park?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
When the old Cup final team, yeah, I saw most of those play. From Paul Bates.
Were you playing football at the time? So on Saturdays, was it difficult to get down here, or?
No. I played all minor football.
Right.
School teams. I played for all my school teams.
Right. And you used to play. Someone tells me you used to play behind the Morning Star pub on a sloping pitch.
I lived in Underwood Road, so that was their pitch for playing.
Right.
I played there after I was playing for Wycombe. The boys used to come down and knock on the door and say, "Will you come and play football with me?" And I used to go out. That's my thing. I used to like playing football, not training, but just playing.
Someone joked to me that the pitch there was so sloping it probably helped you adapt when you moved to Lokes Park. Played on the slope up there. Is that right?
A similar slope, yeah. But not as big as Lokes Park.
You played local football for East End United and Wallaby Sports before you joined Wycombe. How did you actually come about starting to play for Wycombe Wanderers? How did you get that contact and recommendation?
Well, my wife, I got married when I was 20 and I was playing for Wallabies. And my wife said I was too good for Wallaby Sports and go back to Wycombe. And that was when the old Cup final team were all breaking up. So I went and...
the 57 era team.
Yeah. They were all breaking up. That was in, 61, wasn't it?
Yes, your first game was in 61. So you obviously couldn't just decide that you were good enough and go along to Wycombe. Did someone come and watch you?
I went there when I finished with the under-18s, but I went training when Sid Can was the manager.
Yeah.
And nobody would pass the ball to me and that, so I said, nah, I ain't having that. I'd go back and play for Wallabies.
Right.
I could have a kick about.
Right.
I never used like training and stuff like that anyway.
No.
I just like...
So you were actually working at the time, before you joined Wycombe, you were actually out at work, been working for a few years. So whereabouts were you actually working?
I worked at my actual first job when I was 16 was at the Co-op dairy.
All right.
Because I was small enough to get inside the churns to clean them out.
Inside the churns?
Yeah.
The milk churns?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I used to do that. And then I went into furniture. I worked for Healy's along London Road. It used to be near the Nag's Head. And eventually I'll become a sander.
We better clear this up. You were actually a bodger, weren't you, at some point?
Well, I was always associated with chair making. No, that's my nickname.
Yeah, I know, but bodging is the actual turning of the chair legs, isn't it?
In the woods, yeah.
Yeah. Did you actually ever do that job?
No.
So it's all been a con from day one then.
Just a nickname.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so you joined Wycombe in 1961 when you were 20 years old. So that was for Sid Can, was it? Had he just gone by then, hadn't he? Had he just gone?
No, I played under. There was Graham Adams.
Oh, Graham Adams. That's
Don
right.
Welsh.
Yeah, Don
Barry
Welsh.
Darvel.
Yeah, that's right. Because Sid Can had been around for a long time, hadn't he? He'd left by then. Yeah.
He'd left. Yeah.
Okay, so Graham Adams was obviously a coach as we know it now. He obviously thought you were good enough at 20, shoved you in, made your debut at Oxford City in a 3-2 defeat, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game at all, making your debut? Because it was a very atmospheric ground over Oxford City, wasn't it? Probably one of the most unusual grounds I've ever seen.
I can't remember the actual game. I can remember that they had a centre forward called Jack Woodley, and he was a good player then. And at that time I was playing on the left wing.
That's right, yeah.
And my left foot's really just for standing on. And so eventually I'll become out and out striker.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that later on. Yeah. The you don't remember that game? I mean,
I remember the first game at Lopes Park.
Yeah.
It was against Maidstone.
Oh.
And I slid in and injured the goalkeeper, and he got carried off.
Oh.
Big
well
bloke
done.
like me.
Because your third game was at home to Ashford Town in the FA Cup first round, and the crowd was 5,500 for that game. That must have been quite an occasion for you, playing in front of 5,500 people in only your third match.
Well, we always had a good crowd. I never really. I mean, I did take notice of crowds and that,
but I think the average crowd around that time was probably half that, between sort of 2,000 and 3,000 at that season, I believe. So for a young
in
lad,
the early days when I first started, but as the years went on, the crowd gradually grew.
Yeah, when we got into the early 70s,
and we were playing teams like Enfield and Hendon, I mean, you was looking at 6,000-7,000.
But you don't remember being nervous in front of that sort of crowd at such a young age?
No.
Never really suffered from nerves?
No.
No? Because obviously sort of 5,500 are sort of similar crowds to what we're getting now, or up until relatively recently.
When you play Oxford United, local derby.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay. Do you, when you joined the team, I obviously you looked up to a lot of these players who've been playing for Wycombe Wanderers for many years. I see players like Len Worley, Charlie Gale, John Beck, Ken Brown. Do you remember any of those players that you first played with? Anyone stand out from that first team you broke into?
Oh, yeah. Len Worley, Paul Bates, Dennis Sarrett was in goal when I first started playing, and they were good players.
Yeah.
And
you weren't daunted.
They helped me.
Did they?
Yeah. They treated me as a little kid.
Yeah.
And,
because you weren't a kid, were you? You were 20 years old. But,
I know, but I was small.
Because typically a youngster
my
from
sister
local
used to call me Whippet.
Yeah. You were built like a whippet, yeah.
Because I was quick, I was quick. That was my main asset, being quick over 10 yards.
I noticed that there's a guy called Tommy Holmes, who I don't know. He's the one you seem to replace in the team straight away. Do you remember that? And
not really, no.
No, I was looking at the lineups for that time, and he was the one you seemed to actually directly replace.
When you ask questions about players and that, I played for Wycombe for 17 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many players I played with?
Yeah. Yes.
Whether I'd remember their names. I recognise them, but can't put names to them if I met them.
You obviously, until you obviously made a big impression, because you got some pretty rave reports in the local papers for those early games.
No, I was a lazy goal scorer.
But there you were. You were just a furniture maker. Do you remember the transition from being kind of an unknown to almost like a celebrity in town? Were you being recognised all the time as the new boy on the block, as it were?
Well, yeah, the supporters around Wycombe, recognised me. I mean, they used to carry my bag to the games and stuff like that. If I'd get them in the gate for nothing. Yeah. But,
so they got a free entry if they carried your bag through the gate, did they?
That's right. Yeah.
So that's why they were keen.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a little bit of a celebrity all of a sudden that first season?
Well, I've never been starstruck.
No.
I used to love playing football. That was the main thing about me.
So you just enjoyed playing to a bigger stage?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a thrill when you scored 2 or 3 goals and your team won. That was the main thing, winning. I mean, we won the league. When Brian Lee joined, we won the league, 3 or 4 times?
4 seasons out of 5, yeah.
We were a good side, and we had some terrific players, and probably Brian Lee had the contacts and brought them in.
Did you said earlier that you started off as a left winger, and then quite soon moved into the middle. Did you play left wing because that was where there was a vacancy, or did the manager think that that's where you belonged at first because of your speed?
I think they were struggling for a left winger.
Right.
Yeah, Stevie Hyde, he was an out-and-out left winger, and they were short in the middle.
Mm.
When Paul Bates finished, eventually, they were short striking wise. I was quick and good in the air. I mean, I was, for a little bloke, I was really good in the air. I don't mind saying that.
Yeah,
So
yes,
you get
you were. That's right, I remember.